In today's video, I'm going to be covering my top 8 tips on how to be a better public speaker and not be nervous. Now, being nervous is completely normal, whether you are speaking in front of a classroom or on stage, in front of your colleagues, or giving a toast at a wedding. Public speaking is one of the top fears that a lot of people deal with. So I'm going to kind of break it down a little bit for you and help you find your stride. Now, as you watch this video, I highly encourage you to please go subscribe to the Abundant Desi podcast. It's a weekly show. I share with you every single week new lessons, new techniques to be better in business, in life, in your journey as you move forward. Along the way, I'm bringing on guests who are sharing their stories and helping you level up. The Abundant Desi podcast is free. Go check it out. Go listen. And while you're doing that, be sure to also head over to Instagram and give me a follow. Send me a direct message. I love connecting with you. And we are growing every single day thanks to you. So head on over there. Give me a hello dose. But let's jump into today's topic. Public speaking is the number one fear that people deal with around the world. It is higher than the fear of death. It is higher than the fear of claustrophobia. As a matter of fact, 75% of people say that they would much rather be bit by a spider than be in front of people to speak. And this is completely normal. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, I am so nervous about a presentation I have coming up, you may be watching this before you go on stage or go in front of a classroom or go give a toast at a wedding. And so I relate with you. I can understand your pain and your pain points. I completely understand, okay? So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to kind of distill it down for you and help you get through this fear that you may be having and help you kind of push through it a little bit as well. Now, a lot of people message me when they see me on Instagram after I posted a video when I'm speaking in front of a large group of audience, or even watch my videos here on YouTube or listen to the podcast. I do interviews, when I do live streams, a lot of people are like, Arsalan, you're so confident. How are you so good with public speaking? I wasn't always this confident, okay? I'm naturally an introvert. A lot of people don't understand this or realize this. I'm introverted, so when I am on stage or when I'm in front of a classroom or when I'm recording a podcast or interviewing someone, and even with my professional career with Monawar Studios, I own a video and photography production company. It's a full agency, and I'm doing a lot of work with our clients, whether it's sit down and having conversations, whether it's filming full-on productions, and that requires me to be a little bit more confident and exude that energy. So I've had a lot of practice over the years, which I need you to remember and realize practice is a big component of being confident in anything. Practice leads to anything that you want in life. So the practice that I've had over the last 15 plus years of my life have led me to this point where I feel really confident, whether it's in front of a classroom or speaking to an audience. Now, I do also want to set this disclaimer as well. Even I get nervous still to this day when I go up in front of a classroom or whatever I may be doing. I get extremely nervous. The nerves kick in. The nerves are completely normal. So I'm there with you. Okay, we are nervous. Naturally, human beings are nervous. Even the best speakers in the world have said that they are very nervous before they go on stage, before they speak in front of an audience. So don't let that hold you back. Know that not everyone is always 100% confident. Those nerves kick in. And so what I'm going to teach you are the things that I do when the nerves start kicking in and how I can kind of combat that and work my way through that, okay? So let's jump into this list of my top 8 lessons and tips and tricks on how to be a better public speaker. So number 1, take the nerves off of you. Okay, nerves are the number one thing that is making you nervous. It's nerve-wracking, it's scary, it's frightening to be speaking in front of people. And what I recommend, and something that I discovered very early on and really helped me, is you're nervous as you're going in front of people to speak, but those people that are waiting for you to come up and speak, they're also nervous as well in one way or another. Whether, let's say you're in a classroom, there's people that are watching you, they may have to give their presentation as well. They're going to be going on stage or in front of the classroom as well. Okay, and if let's say you're speaking in front on stage in front of a bunch of people, these folks are nervous because they don't know who you are. They don't know anything about you. May never have heard of you, and so when you go on stage, they have this notion of, okay, who is this person? I don't really trust them. What are they going to talk about? what is it that they're going to speak about. And even professional speakers who people may be in attendance to, they waited all these months to watch them. Even those people are nervous because they're like, I'm so energetic and nervous. Like, hopefully they live up to their expectation or whatever it may be. So there's a lot of nerves in the room in general. So you got to take those nerves off of you. You're feeling nervous, but so is everyone else. So feel sympathetic. Know that everyone is in this together. So take a deep breath and realize that the one of the easiest ways to get over the nerves is know that you're not the only one who's nervous. Everyone else is as well. Okay, so a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that they're super nervous and everyone else isn't feeling those nerves, but they are. Everyone in the room is feeling nervous. So kind of dial it down a little bit and know that everyone is in this together, all right? Number 2, this is one of my favorites already, is when you're speaking in front of folks, whether it's 10 people or 500 people, don't think of it as you're speaking to 10 people or 500 people. Think of it as you're speaking to one person. One of the biggest things I teach my students, even especially on Instagram Live, because a lot of people are afraid to go on Instagram Live, I say don't worry about speaking to 10, 20, 30, 50 people who may be watching you. When you start going on Instagram Live for the very first time, if you don't have a big following, there may be 0 people watching you, and eventually there may be 1 person watching you. Always cater to that 1 person. When you're speaking in front of an audience or a crowd or a classroom, think of that 1 person. Find 1 person in the audience and talk to them. It's kind of like having 500 conversations with 500 different people. You're only having 1 conversation with 1 person. You're not speaking to everyone. And also, by the end of it, you may realize that there's 1 person who really was engaged with what you were saying. I had this happen very recently. I had a very amazing talk recently in front of a crowd of about 50 people. And afterwards, someone sent me a message and they said that they weren't even thinking about going to this presentation. They actually were going to back out at the last second, and one of their friends encouraged them to come. And they came and they listened to what I had to say, and they were completely wowed, and they took the initiative to send me a message, and they said, I felt like you were talking to me. And that is one of the best feelings in the world. So talk to 1 person. Don't worry about everyone in the room. Just focus on 1 person, okay? Number 3, this is something that we all make the mistake of doing. I still do this time to time, and I have to kind of dial it back a little bit. Slow down and take a deep breath. Okay, when we're in normal conversation with our friends and family, there's a certain tempo and cadence and a pitch that we talk to them in. We tend to kind of lose sight of that when we go on stage or when we're speaking in front of a crowd or even giving a toast at a wedding, all right? We tend to start speaking faster because, again, those nerves kick in, as in number 1, the nerves continue to kick in. So take a deep breath. Research has shown that it only takes 6 deep breathing exercises, just 6 deep breaths that allow you to kind of calm your nerves down and really focus on your pitch and your tone, and really take the time to take a deep breath and pause. Slow down, okay? Slowing down is really important. It's going to help you kind of structure your speech a little bit as well, which I'll talk about here in a second. Number 4, do not over-caffeinate. A lot of people will drink a ton of caffeine before they go on stage or in front of a classroom, whether it's through soda or coffee or even chai, which I've been guilty of this. Sometimes I've had enough chai beforehand. Even though there's not a lot of caffeine in chai, sometimes I get a little bit of energy. And when you get that energy, you end up speaking faster. You start losing focus on what you're talking about. Your thoughts are all over the place. Even if you had a structure and a plan, all those things start falling away when you are over caffeinated. So make sure that you are taking note of how much caffeine you're consuming or any kind of stimulant that's going to give you a little bit of energy. Make sure that it's focused, laser focused energy. If you want to be energetic before you go on stage, exercise is a great way to find that natural boost before you go on stage, because it's going to really help you be a little bit more aligned and focused in a way that's going to really help you and the folks that you're speaking to, okay? Number 5, take pauses. This kind of goes back to taking deep breath and, relaxing and slowing down. Take a pause. Research has also shown when you are on stage and you're talking, eventually there's some people that may just zone out because they're listening to you and they may start thinking about something else. If you pause for about 3 or 4 seconds, just be up there and pause like this. Okay, that was 4 seconds. Even though it may seem odd, It's kind of a great way to stop your thought process and then go to the next one. And when you do that, if someone does zone out, they'll completely shift their energy and focus back to you because they're like, oh, they've stopped talking. Are they going to say, or are they wrapping up? Like, well, what are they doing here? So when you pause, it allows the audience or whoever is listening to you to kind of focus their energy back on you. Don't take too many pauses. You don't want to pause like every minute, but have a structure to your pauses. And we're going to be talking about structure in the next tip. So number 6 is having structure, having a plan, practicing ahead of time. When you structure your thoughts, especially for the students out there, if you have to give a presentation in front of a classroom, you're going to want to structure it in one way or another. There's many different amazing techniques that work for all sorts of folks on how to structure a speech. But one thing I can give you is, let's say you're talking on a certain topic, maybe do a top 5 list. Maybe get in front of that classroom and say, today I'm going to give you 5 ways you can overcome depression naturally. And when you have that structure, when you say 5 things or 8 things, the people that are listening to you, they're going to take note of that. So when you say, okay, number 4 and number 5, they listen to you, and it's kind of like a benchmark. It's a benchmark. And then practice is really important. One of the classic practice techniques that I learned in communications class and in college as well is think of your presentation or talk like the structure of a house. Okay, a house has different rooms. It's got a basement, it's got the upper level, it's got the dining room. And think of the house as different parts of your speech. Now you close your eyes and walk into, whether it's your house or think of any house, you walk into a house, you think of the different rooms in it. You think of the dining room, you think of the attic, you think of the living room, and then give each different aspect of the house a different meaning, a different part of your speech. So your beginning of your speech, maybe you walk into the house. Number 1 on your list of, let's say it's a 5-parter. Number 1 on the list may be the living room. You see the living room. So really envision the house and do a walkthrough of that house. And as you're walking through in your head, every room has a different part of your speech. This is a great technique I learned in communications class, and this works really well for those who are nervous and really like that structure of things. So find a way to structure your presentation, your talk, your speech, and it's really going to help you get to the next level. Number 7, this is something that really helps me every time I get on stage. And this works well for me because my talks that I give tend to be around entrepreneurship, personal development, and helping folks level up their life, okay? And by the end of my session with anyone when I'm talking, I want them to feel a way as they found a sense of meaning or purpose in their life, in their mission, in their business, whatever it may be, okay? So for me, this number 7 for me is a moral obligation. This may not relate to you depending on who you're giving a talk to or who you're speaking in front of, but remember that you have a moral obligation. Like the story I shared earlier on in this episode, where that wonderful woman reached out to me after my latest talk, and she said that she wasn't even going to go to this, and her friend talked her into it, and she got there, and afterwards she just felt like I was talking to her, and she was going through a very difficult time in her life, and she said that the talk really helped her get through that difficult moment. So that's my moral obligation. I feel like I have a moral obligation to go in front of a crowd and people and talk. Okay, even if the nerves kick in, even if I feel like I'm not feeling it today, even my introvert personality wants me to stay at home and be under blankets and not go anywhere and have that social anxiety kick in, I have to remind myself that I have a moral obligation. There's that one person who needs to listen to what I have to say. Think of that in your life, okay? If you're talking in front of a classroom, you may feel like you don't have a moral obligation, but you really do, because whatever you're talking about, someone in your classroom may need to listen to that. Maybe you exude that confidence through your speech or your presentation, and you inspire someone else to do the same thing. Whatever your moral obligation is, you'll find it, but it may mean something else to other people, but you have a moral obligation to go up and talk. Trust me, this is a hard one to really nail down, but when you understand this, it has a big meaning, okay? And number 8, the last tip on my list of 8 tips on how to be better at public speaking and not be nervous. This one is powerful. I need you to really write this down and listen to what I'm about to say. This is an NLP trick, okay? If you don't know what NLP is an acronym which stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And this is, NLP has been proven time and time again, research-driven, science-backed. It's amazing. It's helped people with anxiety, depression, and all sorts of things. It's kind of like helping you rewire your brain and your mindset and whatnot. And this trick works really well for those of you who are struggling to be in front of a group of people to talk. Okay, now really listen into what I'm about to say. So think of think of how you feel when you're going up to talk to someone in front of a classroom, on stage, giving a toast at a wedding. The nerves are kicking in, you're feeling extremely nervous, and you're feeling extremely scared. You're feeling all that self-doubt kick in. You feel imposter syndrome, all the negative emotions that you can possibly feel when you are about to go and speak in front of someone. And when you get done speaking, you've all given talks. And if you haven't, at some point, the majority of you watching and listening, you're going to be speaking in front of a crowd at some point or another. Now think of how you feel when you're done. About 10 or 15 minutes, science has shown that about 10 or 15 minutes after you get done talking, you feel this surge of exhilaration and excitement and release and relief, okay? Even if you feel like you didn't do great, you just feel this release of, okay, I am done. It is over. Here we go. So the NLP trick that I want to teach you here is think of how you're going to feel 15 minutes after you get done talking. So as you're about to go up and speak, think of how you're going to feel when you're done. All right? And really get into that mindset and really remind yourself how excited you're going to be when you're done. This is a mindset trick for all sorts of things. How are you going to feel when you get those $1 million? How are you going to feel when you start that business? How are you going to feel when you start writing that book or finish that book? How are you going to feel when you get done giving your speech? When you're done with what you are going to talk about? That feeling is exciting. It is exhilarating. It is a release. It is relief. It's all the positive endorphins that are rushing through your body. When you operate from that mindset, then when you go up and talk, you kind of feel a little bit more calm, collected, and structured, and all those things. Okay? So really take tally of that. So these were my top 8 tips on how to be better at public speaking and be less nervous. Now, like I said, the majority of you either have given a talk or you're about to give a talk within the next 24 hours and you're watching this video or listening to this podcast, or in the future you're going to be giving one. I highly encourage you to go back, listen again and again, take notes, because these 8 tips and techniques have really helped me, and they've helped me be a better speaker, a better entrepreneur, a better podcast host, just a better, more collected and more structured human being all around. All right. So please send me a message. Let me know what you thought of this episode. I would love to hear from you. And by the way, if you want weekly tips and tricks and advice and all sorts of incredible lessons and teachings coming up specifically designed for you, because everything I'm creating is for you, please consider subscribing to our email list. It's 100% free. You get all the notifications and updates. Just go to abundantdesi.com/hello dost. Put in your email and we will be touching base with you and giving you all sorts of lovely nuggets that you're gonna want in your life, and we promise not to spam you. All right, thank you so much for listening. Please take a screenshot of your device if you're listening to this on your mobile device, on a podcast version. Post it on your Instagram stories and let me know which out of the 8 tips, which one really helped you level up in regards to your speaking. Okay, thank you for listening. I look forward to seeing you again next week on the next episode of the Abundant Desi podcast. Now go out there, be amazing, be abundant, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, dost.